Hey friends, this is Eric the Mind Control Guy. I'm a little bothered right now. You know, as we all have heard over the years, sometimes whistleblowers, bad things happen to them. Cars blow up, houses blow up, people get shot, found dead. And of course, sometimes it takes something as simple as a phone call. You don't know what you have in your possession or you don't know what you've seen. But somebody doesn't like you talking about it. The movie Enemy of the State came out back in the 1990s. Will Smith and Gene Hackman was in it. Will Smith was a lawyer. Some guy had caught something on tape and ran into him and put it into his bag nonchalantly, took off. And after those responsible realized that, Will Smith had something in his possession that could implicate them in a murder of a congressman. So the rest of the scene in the movie is nothing but a chase scene. And in one particular segment, Gene Hackman, who had been an NSA officer in the movie, he had all the toys and all the stuff. Will Smith had this thing, it was a Game Boy, but it had a disc in it. Gene Hackman takes it out and puts it in his machine and sees what he can find out. They realized they captured the murder of a congressman on video. And it wasn't even them, it was a nature photographer that got it. Well, in this, leading up to that, the chase scene, Will Smith had made a phone call from a payphone. They tracked him down. Well, later on in the segment, they escaped, and Gene Hackman had the building he was in, looked like an old abandoned warehouse building in an industrial area. It blew up. He said, "What happened?" He goes, "I blew up the building because you made a phone call." Sometimes that's all it takes. Well, years ago, I've told this story on Coast to Coast AM. I've told it on my YouTube channel. I've told it on Dark Outpost when I was on Dark Outpost. I've had 2 encounters with the M.I.B. And I don't give a damn what you trolls think. These things happen whether you want to believe it or not. I don't care. The first incident happened when I lived down in Greensburg. The lady I lived with told me that some people that came in the house or the apartment where we lived in, and all of a sudden she was paralyzed except for her eyes. She can move her eyes. And these people came in and got me out of bed, took me away for an hour or 2. She was paralyzed the whole time. Brought me back, put me back to bed, left, and all of a sudden then she could move. She told me about this and I didn't know what she was talking about because I didn't remember anything. Well, that was a catalyst for her that caused her to bail on me. Okay. Later on, I had another encounter with the M.I.B. while I lived down in Greensburg. This one was on the road. This is the one I've told on the air. All because I had visions in my head. I was seeing something and I couldn't make heads or tails of why I was seeing what I was seeing because there's no way I could have been there watching this because of the significance of it. And because I was talking to people on the phone trying to figure out what I was seeing, I didn't know if I was just having bad dreams or what it was, but it was like I was standing there crystal clear as day, just like I'm talking to you right now. I didn't know what I was seeing. I don't know why I was seeing it, but I saw it. I was asking people. Next thing you know, the M.I.B. show up. Of course, they're really good at erasing your memory. The problem was, I hadn't been getting my memory back about what had happened to me when I was a young soldier in the service. So after that encounter, from the highway that night when I had missing time and whatnot. When I got home and went to sleep, I started remembering what happened. So for years after that, I didn't talk about what happened. Then after two individuals, John Glenn and John Young, had passed on, I figured, well, I cannot hurt them. So I'm going to start talking. I told my story. I told it on Coast to Coast twice. Once with George Norrie, once with Richard Serrett. I told it on Dark Outpost. And then I recently started telling the story again. This morning when I got home from work, the house smelled like, I don't know what it smelled. It smelled like eggs, nasty eggs or something, all over the house. Walking around, didn't know what the hell was going on. Smelled it. And I came home and the cat had threw up, and I thought it was just a fragrance of nasty cat vomit. My wife got home a few hours later from work. The gas on the stove had been turned on. It didn't go on as much to hit the flame, but on just enough to where gas would emit. The whole house smelled like it. She had turned it off. When I went to bed, I was asleep with the fan, so the fan was circulating, so I didn't smell it when I was in my bedroom. Later on, when I woke up, all the windows in the house were open, and she told me she found the gas on the stove. Now I'm going to show you something here, because you can't see the stove right now. Now I'm going to show you something. There's our stove. Here's the knobs. Now I'm going to show you something. I could bump up like this, walk up like this, make it an effort. The knobs are still there. You can't turn them like that. You have to push them in and then turn it. No flame. You got to turn it a certain way like that. Like that. Got to push it in. Turn it, the gas comes on. Hit that. Then that comes on. You see how far I had to turn that? Wife was here after I went to work, and she went to work later on. She wouldn't have left that like that. Our cat never gets on the stove. He couldn't have done that. See that? You have to push it in and then turn it. I think somebody came in our house after we went to work and deliberately turned that gas on. I think I am now a targeted individual by the M.I.B. because I keep telling the story of what I saw. I'm going to put this on pause. I'm going to go in the other room. I'm going to tell the story one more time. Hey friends, this is our mind control guy again. I'm going to turn the light on. The visions that I had in my head back in 2006, I have no idea where they come from. Like I said, there was no way I could have possibly been there when this happened. But just like I was standing there watching it, it was at NASA down at Cape Canaveral. there was, hold on a second, make this so I can screw the video up a little bit, but anyway, I do it this way so you can really understand how it happened. A reenactment is really good. Anyway, it was down at Cape Canaveral, where this event, from what I gather, took place. I'm screwing up the video, but hey. And what I saw was then Senator John Glenn, former astronaut John Young, and three guys dressed in dark suits and shades, white shirts and red ties. Two of the guys were sitting at the table. One of the guys was behind them. John Young was sitting at the table, and Senator John Glenn. The room was bright white. They handed John Glenn an envelope like this. And John Glenn, he had his glasses on. He had pulled these papers out, and he went like this. He goes, looked at John Young and said, "And you're going along with this?" John Young was sitting at the table, had his elbows there, and he kind of turned his palms up, raised his shoulders like, "Ain't nothing I can do. My hands are tied." And they said, "Now, Senator, we really need your approval on this. But if you decide not to go along with it, well, we'd really hate to see you end up in a car crash or a plane crash or having an early stroke or heart attack. So we really need your approval on this." With great reluctancy, John Glenn approved whatever it was they wanted approved, turned around and walked out the door. That's all I saw. These visions in my head, that's what I saw. So I called one guy that used to be involved in military intelligence, then another guy who I knew who was an MK Ultra survivor who had been around the world of intelligence, and another individual I've known my whole life who had worked at NASA back in the 60s. I called these three individuals and told them the story. And I said, "Any idea what I'm seeing?" Nobody knew. I didn't think anything more about it. Then I had my first encounter with the M.I.B. that I told earlier in this video. Then I had my second encounter. I've recently started telling that story again. And now somebody comes in my house last night when my wife and I are gone and turned the gas on the stove. Just enough so the gas come out, but no flame. The house was full of gas. If I had ended up turning the stove on or somehow lit a match, the house would have blew up. I am convinced that now I am a targeted individual by the M.I.B. All because of some visions I had in my head. All because of something I saw in my head years ago, back in 2006. And then I started asking people, and nobody knew. Later on, I was to find out, I was talking to someone I knew who did remote viewing. I said, "What was in those papers that they wanted John Glenn to sign? I mean, I'd like to get to the bottom of this bullshit. What was in those papers that they wanted to threaten a sitting senator? What was so important they needed approved?" So the individual I knew that did remote viewing went to go have a look-see. Well, apparently these individuals are getting into all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff they didn't need to be getting into. Ultra highly classified stuff. And they figured one of these days they're going to get caught. So what they wanted the approval of Senator Glenn for, and I imagine it was probably a numerous amounts of either senators or congressmen, people in those positions. I don't know who all they went to, but this is the only one I saw. Apparently, these guys wanted the highest security clearance imaginable. All access, any place, anytime, anywhere. Flash some credentials, regardless of what kind of facility it was. And the guards would have had to just let them on through because of some credentials. This is what it was. They wanted Senator Glenn's approval and wanted him to sign off on this. So these bastards, whoever they were, could get all access anywhere, anytime, any place, no questions asked. Groom Lake, Hangar 18, Dulce, Autech, vaults in the Pentagon, vaults at the NSA, Central Intelligence Agency, Federal Bureau of Investigation, all of them. They wanted all access anywhere, anytime, any place. And that's what they threatened to kill John Glenn about. Either you sign this or we're going to kill you. Who these bastards were, I don't know. But all I do know is they look like these sons of bitches here. The M.I.B. I'm going to show you something. If you've never seen this movie here, The Shadow Men, you can watch the whole thing on YouTube. There's a scene from it. It's come out in various forms with various covers. One of the covers I saw, you know what it said? They know you know. People who have seen strange lights in the sky, strange things in the water, strange things in the woods. Next thing you know, these sons of bitches show up. And you might not even talk to anybody, but they know you know. The 1996 movie that came out the year before The Shadow Men was called The Silencers. You can watch that on YouTube today in its entirety. You just have to type in The Silencers 1996 full movie. Because apparently back in the 60s there was another movie called The Silencers, something completely different. The opening scene of that movie, The Silencers 1996. Nebraska. Farm family. At night getting ready to have dinner. Husband, wife, and daughter. And they're saying grace, getting ready to have their meal. And all of a sudden the weather kicks up. The cattle start acting funny. Guy says, I'm going to go and check on the stock. He goes out there and here comes an off-world craft. And they grab, with a tractor beam, they grab a cow and take it up in the ship. Well, guy comes out with his shotgun, aims it, and they zap him and kill him. Ladies there grieving at her recently dead husband. Things like this, you're not supposed to believe in that. There it was happening. Next thing you know, things start getting weird, and all of a sudden out of the middle of nowhere, just out of thin air, comes a black sedan. It's got 3 M.I.B. in there. Told her what you saw did not happen. The events tonight did not happen. The guy took his glasses off, cold black eyes. If you talk about any of this, you and your family will be killed. And then they disappeared. Classic M.I.B. encounter. It just happened. They're out in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, in the middle of the night. Not in the middle of the night, probably 8, 9 at night, having dinner. And next thing you know, these sons of bitches show up and threaten this lady.
Mark my words. They already know you know. I know because it happened to me. They threatened me twice. And now I come home from work and somebody turned the gas on in our kitchen. And there's no way we could have just bumped up against it and turned it on. There's no way our cat could have turned it on and left it like that. Somebody came in our house and turned the gas on. I'm a targeted individual because of some visions I had in my head and I didn't know what it was all about. So I started asking people. I wanted this documented. I wanted this recorded. If something happens to me, now you know why. Thank you for listening. Sorry about the couple mishaps of the video. I didn't have everything prepared. I did this off the cuff. Somebody came in our house last night and turned the gas on, hoping that I would either suffocate or a spark would happen and the house would blow up with me in it. I just wanted to let you know. Thank you. This is Eric the Mind Control Guy, October 2024.